Hey there everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video I'm showcasing Shadow Ampharos with Trailblaze and Brutal Swing. I've paired it with Zoom Roll in the back and Skeldridge as the closer. I did these battles just before it switched to Ultra League and Great League Remix. So let's jump right into it. This first battle here, Shadow Ampharos into Greninja, and that's obviously a positive matchup for myself. There, add a move. I'm gonna decide to shield this up because I think a Hydro Cannon would do a lot of damage. Just a Night Slash. One more Volt Switch, and I do get to a Trailblaze. So I'm gonna go for the Trailblaze right away, ramp up my damage, and get a shield. And so then they bring in a Trevenant, and I'm already at Brutal Swing, so I throw the Brutal Swing, and let's see if they shield this. Bang! One shot to the Trevenant. 1, 2, 3 Volt Switches, and the Pelipper is gone. Good game. Well played to my opponent. Shadow Ampharos put in a ton of work in these matches. I did climb up quite nicely. Now we got Green in the lead. This is a little bit trickier of a matchup as the Mud Shots are doing decent damage to my Ampharos. I'm gonna respect this first move here. It is just Body Slam, that's fine. Go for a Trailblaze again. This is the first time playing Trailblaze, and I do like it how it increases your damage. Being Shadow, you're already putting out a lot of damage, and then increasing your attack. Also, you just, as you saw in that first match, you start doing a lot of damage. Ampharos is a little bit glassy, so you kind of have to use some shields with them. But that's okay, we get the Green done, and then they've got a Charge Bug in the back. So, perfect for Skeldridge, can just incinerate through the Charge Bug. But I'm going to go for a Brutal Swing here, get a shield, and then they are able to fast move me down, so bring in Skeldridge. And my thought here is they're going to have to throw, I'm going to no shield whatever it is, probably Discharge. This is Discharge, and then I'm able to switch out into the Zoom Roll and keep Skeldridge in the back. But I do decide to go for a Disarming Voice first, get their last shield, and then it's pretty much game over at this point as I can play rough the Polygraph. And they're going to throw a Scald. It does very little damage. I was lucky there I didn't get the attack debuff, so this play rough will either, I think it takes out the Polygraph. Either that or does a massive amount, yeah, not quite. But at this point here, just a couple more bubbles and the Polygraph will be gone. And then they actually aggressively switch into the Charge Bug to try to get ahead on energy. So I throw an Ice Beam, and that gets them into the red. And then I'm okay with them throwing here, and I'm not going to shield. I'm going to keep my shield for Skeldridge. So they throw the X-Scissor, and I decide to switch out so that they can't get more energy, and one Incinerate, and they're done. And then I think they gave up there, but good game to my opponent there. Shadow Ampharos into Lantern, and everybody knows that Lantern doesn't take super effective from Electric, but these Volt Switches are still adding up, and a Trailblaze would do a lot of damage as well. I think I shield this first, sir. This is the match I think it is. I do take a Surf, just I kind of wanted to see how much damage it would do. So I go for a Trailblaze here. They decide no shield, and then I go for a Brutal Swing here. I just want to get rid of them, try not to take any more damage, but they decide to shield, and then they do throw. So I decided, well, you know what, I'm going to just no shield this, see where I land, and I'm still in the red. Bring in Charge Bug, and I thought they switched, but they're down a Pokemon, so aggressive swap by myself there, keep Discharge, and then they bring in a Talonflame. So I'm gonna Shadow Ball that, see if they shield. They do respect it and shield it up, so that's good. Here I think just let it go. I've got a Zoom Roll in the back still. So they Flame Charge. I'm going to bring in a Zoom Roll. Don't need to just give them more energy on bringing in Ampharos and letting them farm me down. Although a Volt Switch or two would do a ton of damage. But I let the fly go through. And here they're on another move. I decided to shield this one, I believe. Yeah, it is another fly, so it's a good thing I shielded. And then they bring in Charge Bug, and I just instantly swap into Ampharos and go for a Brutal Swing. And that takes out the Charge Bug. And then one Volt, which as you can see did a ton of damage. And I'm at the Ice Beam, so this should take out the Talonflame, and that should be a good game. Well played to my opponent there. This team was a lot of fun actually to play. I didn't get that many sets in to be able to play with it, but it worked out really well as a team. So Altaria and Ampharos, gonna go for a Brutal Swing here. I kind of wish the Trailblaze was one turn less, like the Brutal Swing, but then Ampharos would be probably way overpowered with that. So works out either way. So they decided to Dragon Pulse, and I let it go. I want to save my shields. Got Skeldridge and a Azumarill that can handle the Altaria. So I bring in Skeldridge and go for the Disarming Voice. They shield that up, and I think that I shield this as well. Throw the Sky Attack, and then I want to try to farm down. And I do get the full farm down, so I'm at almost 2 Disarming Voices, I think. What do they bring in? They bring in a Cresselia. So I'm going to go straight for Shadow Ball and then throw one more Incinerate, and then I should have another Shadow Ball. They let that first one go through. One more Incinerate, and I'm at another Shadow Ball here. And then I think that I aggressively swap into Azumarill to try to catch. I was trying to catch a move there. Even if it's Grass Knot, it's fine. I can live a Grass Knot. And then I wanted to see what they had in the back. So they have Registeel in the back. So I'm in a bit of a tight spot because I can't really hit them very hard with Azumarill. I do have a shield still, but I want to save the shield for Skeldridge and try to Incinerate down. That's going to be very, very aggressive. Right here, I should have just thrown the Shadow Ball, but I knew that they had Cresselia in the back still, so I wanted to try to. But see there, I was at 2 Shadow Balls. I lost that game. I felt like when I was playing it that I was like, oh man, I really should have thrown. Watching it back right now, I definitely should have thrown the Shadow Ball. And probably would have won. I can't guarantee that Cresselia didn't have a move. But here, next match, Lantern into Ampharos, and I shield up the Surf, and then I go for a Trailblaze. And this is going to do a good chunk, but it does get a shield. And then they switch into Dragonair and give up. So Ampharos must have core broke them there, so that was a 4-1 set. Feel like it could have been a 5-1 or a 5-0, but I am up over 2100 now, so that's a nice start for myself. Start with Jellicent, and they switch into Hitmonchan, or Hitmonhop, sorry. Very slow switching. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do there. But I decided to answer with Azumarill, because I'm pretty sure that nothing that they can throw will really threaten me. And I can go for a Play Rough. But they decided to go for a close combat, so I decided to save a little bit of energy and go for the Ice Beam. And it does take them out. I was gonna say it doesn't quite take them out, but it gives me a little bit of farm. They bring Jellicent back in, and I'm able to get to a Play Rough before they throw. I'm sure they're out of move. They let that go, and I want to force them to throw here, and I don't want to shield because I don't want to be switch locked. So I want to bring in Ampharos because I want to keep Skeldridge away from the Jellicent. So I go for Trailblaze. It gets their last shield, or their first shield, sorry. and I kind of got stuck in that volt switch animation there. I wanted to switch sooner. Got 2 shields here, and now my thought is if I can get to 2 Shadow Balls, then I can take out the Jellicent with Skeldridge. So gonna no shield this. They bring in Jellicent, and I throw the first Shadow Ball. They're gonna be forced to shield here. And then 1, 2, 1 more Incinerate, and I should have the next Shadow Ball. So I shield this Surf up. 1 more Incinerate, and I get to the Shadow Ball. So that should be taking out the Jellicent. And it does, so that's another good game. I did these last battles here aren't necessarily in order, and I did cut out, I think I did a 3-1 set, so I cut out the 2 losses just to make the video not so long. If anybody is still watching, I appreciate your guys' support and views, comments. Been having a lot of fun making these videos. Go for Trailblaze there against the Glingar. I'm gonna let this dig go through. And then I go for an Ice Beam. This team's got decent coverage for most of what you're seeing in the meta right now. They bring back in Lantern. Lantern's tricky for Azumarill to handle, and Skeldridge. But you can, with shields and energy and stuff like that, you can manage with it. As you can see there, Play Rough does a decent amount. Shadow Ball would take it out from this range. And then Ampharos does well as well. So they surf, and I think they deliberately undercharge. No, probably just the damage output that it did. So I bring back in Ampharos, and I'm going to shield this move up, throw the surf, and then they have another surf, and decide to let this one go through. I know that I can live it. And then I get to a Brutal Swing here. Takes out the Lantern. And then in the back they've got a Skarmory, so I aggressively swap into Skeldridge. I don't want to let them farm me down, and they decide to concede the match. Well played to my opponent there. Into the next match here, Wigglytuff into Ampharos. Don't want to really just give up switch here, and they decided to switch out as I was going for a Trailblaze, so that works out well for me. Let's see if they decide to shield. They do shield. I was a little bit surprised actually that they switched in the Mudboy and then shielded. You would think that they would have been trying to catch an electric move or the Brutal Swing. But that works out for me to get the shield. So I switch into Azumarill and go for an Ice Beam here. That gets them into the yellow. I think I can safely no-shield pretty much everything from Craigsquire here. Mud Bombs are adding up, but I can live a handful of them here. Not really a handful, but a few. So they go for a Stone Edge there, gets me into the red. I'm at another Ice Beam. This will either take them out or get a shield. Either one works. They decide to let that go through and takes them out, so they bring in Wigglytuff here to get ahead on energy. And I don't want to switch to lock myself in again. So I bring in Skeldridge here because I do not want to be farmed down. And I've got 2 shields still, so it works out well. I can shield this first move up, and it's just an Icy Wind, so I was like, oh, well, you know what? I'm just going to farm them down then, and not shield their next Icy Wind. So I'm counting on this being an Icy Wind, not something else. Just have to let it go. It's just Icy Wind. And now I can fully farm them down, and then I can switch into Ampharos to clear the debuff, and it's Dugong in the back. So I go for the Trailblaze. I feel like if they shield, that's fine, my attack still increases, and you can see the Volt Switches start really tearing through. Now I've got, I think, move and a half roughly. I've got a Shadow Ball, so I'm going to throw that. But I think I have 2 Disarming Voices, so I should be able to throw a Disarming Voice after the Shadow Ball. gets him into the red, and then I have the Disarming Voice. So I'm going to throw that, and that'll be a good game. Well played to my opponent. And that's it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.